What's going on? Welcome to a brand new edition of the Build Series. My name is Kevin Kenny, and our guest today, very talented individual, really does it all. He does movies, he's huge on social media, has some great new music we're going to talk about today. Please let's give a very warm Build welcome to Aidan Alexander.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
They love you. Usually we get the claps, but we're getting a lot of yeahs. Who's the yeah guy out
I
here?
heard a yeah.
Yeah, strong yeahs.
Yeah to you. That rocks.
There you go, Mr.
Thank
Yeah.
you for the warm welcome.
Well, Aidan, thank you for not only the warm welcome there, but thank you for stopping by. It's very nice to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here again.
We were joking in the back, sometimes we're doing this in the afternoon here in New York, but early interviews, they can be kind of tiring. But this is waking me up. This look right now, man. This is a fierce look.
Thanks. Yeah, I was trying to be exciting,
Yeah.
Get some glitter up in the stage.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm jealous when I see a shirt like that. I'm like, I would love to rock that, but I would look ridiculous.
No,
you look
oh my
so
God.
cool in that.
You can try it on after. I think it would look great.
And then I'll give you the flannel. I look like I work at a hardware store. You look like you're ready for the red carpet.
Oh, thanks. Well, sometimes I look like I work at Home Depot on the carpet. So it's like I try to mix it up. I'm wearing cowboy boots with it because I thought it would dull it down a bit.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be subtle on the footwear.
Yeah, I don't know if it just doesn't make sense or if it works. So I guess I'll find out in my Twitter mentions the second I walk off the stage. Yeah.
It's a crazy world we live in now, and you know it really well. You're speaking to social media there, and I don't even know where to start because you do the movie stuff. You're huge on social. You're huge on YouTube. 1.5 million subscribers. You got this great music coming out. You guys must have such an interesting perspective on media in 2018 because you have sort of a presence in all the different sectors. Are there parallels between the three that I just named that you wouldn't expect, but you've learned through doing it?
Well, obviously there's a very big parallel between acting and music, just because music is a lot of acting. Whether you're on stage promoting something or whether you're performing, there is an element of acting. It is a show. People are paying to see a show. So that's a big parallel that I think worked well for me. In terms of just social media in a whole, it's weird. I've been doing social media first for a long time now. So I've become pretty normalized to it. Sometimes if I post something and the numbers, you just see, if I'm talking to someone who doesn't do it, or if I'm home in Idaho or whatever, and someone brings it up to me, I never think about it. I think that you would go crazy if you think about it. If you think about each little number as a person who's viewing it and forming judgments, it's super stressful. So maybe it was a coping thing to just black it out. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you talk about the people behind the numbers. We have a lot of social media stars that have crossed over into music on the show. And what's kind of the nice side of those numbers being real people is when you go out and you do these shows, you're like, oh, like the 30,000 people that retweeted this, they're in this room, or, the 10,000 or whatever. And you put faces to these numbers, these streaming figures, what have you, these YouTube views. And it's special. You realize, oh, these are people at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really weird. I'm very grateful, obviously, but just thinking about growing up, I was obsessed with just connecting with as many people as possible. I was so weird. I didn't have any friends. I joined Facebook or something because that was the Instagram back then, and I would I'm not encouraging this to anyone watching it because you will end up kidnapped somewhere, but I would add all of these random people online. I remember there's this I can't believe I remember this. There was this one kid named Glosin from Malaysia, and God knows how I even stumbled upon his page, but I added him, which is so weird. I don't know what sense of confidence I had. So I would never do that now. I'm way too insecure, but I was like, hey, would you want to be my friend? And then I talked to him. I would Google Translate all my English into whatever. I don't want to say Malaysian in case that's wrong. So whatever language people in Malaysia speak, I would translate it into that. And I loved connecting with people. So Instagram and all these social platforms, it's very, very cool to me that I get to talk to all of these people that I never would have gotten to talk to. That's the coolest thing for me is if I had decided to do something else, or if I was playing football. God, I would never, but if I had, I never would have gotten to experience that. And maybe there would have been other things in my life that would have been great, but it's so cool to me that I get to meet all these incredible people and all these people who are supporting, what I like to do. It's It's very weird, but it's very cool.
Well, you know what struck me, Aidan, just there when you were telling that story is that you said you didn't have any friends, I guess, in your personal life in the real world, but
Absolutely
then you were
not,
very
yeah.
social. It sounds like on a global scale on social media. So what was the disconnect there, where you were this sort of social butterfly on the computer, but maybe not so much in person?
Well, I grew up in Idaho.
Is that a big part of it?
That's it. That was
That's
my
just
whole
the
answer.
Just leave
yeah.
it there. Mic
No.
drop.
Oh yeah. I'm like, okay. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah. No. I grew up in Idaho, so Idahoans love to fish. I don't like killing things. But I'm a hypocrite because I had sushi last night. But I can't do it myself. Sorry, Peter. I love the outdoors. I love camping, whatever. But I didn't. We had nothing in common. I liked music. I love rap, but more so now. When I was younger, it was more like the camp rock soundtrack. And everyone in Idaho was like, "Oh, you're gay, you're lame." So I was like, "Hey, cool, okay." So then, it wasn't so much like I was never like a victim of like intense bullying or anything like that. So I'm very lucky, but it was part of it was probably me. I didn't want anything to do with any of them. I was like, "You are so boring. I don't care that you play lacrosse. Your camo hoodie from John Deere is ugly. I don't want to be here." So then I came to LA, and it was wildly different. And then eventually, I made friends, if you could say that. Yeah. Yeah.
Glad to hear. When you think about the three major things that we were talking about before, between the acting, social, of course, the music we're going to get to in full here in a little bit. If those three passions have grown over the years, which blossomed first, in your opinion? Which was like the first love for you?
My first love was acting. That's what I did. See, when people say what was your first love, it's hard for me because there's so many layers to the art of it, So much of acting was myself. So part of acting almost just felt like not stand up because I'm not always being funny, but it was very much me in it. And I loved that. Growing up, it was a big escape for me. I loved movies. It was very hard to tell me I couldn't do something. So if my mom was like, "No, you can't watch that. You're 9 years old," I'd be like, "Okay, sure." And then I would go on Amazon Instant Video and I would watch it. So I loved stories, and I loved storytelling, and I loved the art, and I loved how you could draw these emotions out of people just with words, and just with something as human as storytelling. I thought that it's so simple telling a story. We do it every day, but it's so powerful. So I loved that. I've loved singing growing up. The first song I ever wrote, I've never told anyone this, but I recently did an interview like 2 days ago, and they like asked me like, what is your earliest memory of music? And I remember I wrote this one song called Baggy Pants. It was like, "Look out for those boy in the baggy pants that loves to dance." That was it. It was a whole song. It was 2 lines.
Sounds like a bop.
Thank you, yeah. It would have done really well on Spotify, I think, if it were to come out right now. But I think that I was the boy in the baggy pants, which is weird because I guess. It makes sense, yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but that's the first song that I ever wrote, and I loved music. I loved writing. Acting was telling somebody else's story. Music was mine. I write, my music, so it's very much a me thing.
I think therein lies one of the major differences between the two pursuits, right? Is you're yourself when you're singing and you're a musician, and then you're kind of getting into somebody else's life as an actor. But I've talked to actors and I've talked to artists alike, and they're both very draining endeavors. When you pour yourself into a role, you just want to get out of it. Gaga with The Star Is Born was just saying recently about how she dyed her hair the next day because she just needed to get away from that character she portrayed. But it can also be pretty draining, man, to like look within yourself and write some of the lyrics that you put into this music. So which is more draining, would you say? Is
acting or music?
Well, no, I mean those two processes, right? Like pouring yourself into a character, or looking within yourself and pouring yourself into yourself.
First of all, A Star Is Born. Love it. Everyone go watch. Second of all, I think that's a hard one to answer because it's very different. With acting, there's so much technical stuff that goes into it. You have to play to your light. You have to, the scene will get blocked. So if you don't act, it's pretty much like what you're doing, where you stand, where you go, where your first mark is, where your end mark is. There's a lot of other things to worry about, which is very stressful in itself. You know, there's a massive crew of 400, 200, people, and you don't want to let anyone down. You want to be a professional. So that in itself is very nerve-wracking. Getting into character, it depends. You know, I've played roles where I've killed someone, and that's a lot naturally more draining than, than like a teen comedy where I just play some asshole. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. If some jerk in high school, Right. So it's different. But with music is a lot more vulnerable, which is exhausting. So I would say maybe music, because the process itself is very tiring. You know, you're in the studio for, like 15 hours some days trying to get the vocals perfect. You leave and you literally sound like this, and you're like, oh, that's good. So that's very tiring, but they're different, so it's hard to answer. But I would say, just for the sake of, like, which night would I get more sleep, it would probably be acting, because they got to send me home from set at some point before it's illegal.
Yeah.
But with music, I will beat myself up and be in the studio and tell the producers, like, you need to leave.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, for sure. Which pursuit would you say has taught you more about yourself? Because it's funny, you'd think naturally music, because you're talking about your life, you're talking about yourself, but I'm sure you've had friendships or relationships like we all have where the other person can actually teach you more about yourself sometimes than you can. You know what I mean?
I feel like you do the most learning about yourself when you listen to other people. And I know that kind of seems backwards, because you'd think you'd learn more about them, which of course you do. But in listening to other people, it's human nature. Humans are inherently selfish. I think that when you listen to other people talk, you find yourself in what they're saying, or you don't find yourself, but you're still thinking about yourself. You're like, oh, I don't do that. Oh, I can relate to that. So I think acting, I learn a lot about myself because I'm playing these characters that to me are other people. And I learn a lot about myself through playing them, because they're in these situations that I wouldn't think I would ever be in, but in playing them, I kind of learn how I would react in that. Because when you're on set, it feels real. This man's yelling at you, someone's crying, and it feels very real. And so it kind of like, it's almost like fight or flight. When he yells action, it's just you fend for yourself, you have to be good, but you have to be human. And in being human, I think that in playing human and finding the human in characters, I feel like you learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah. Whenever we have a guest on the program, we get like press releases, we get little info about you, just a brief, we're having Aidan on the show. And you're described in some stuff I've read as an electro pop artist. And I was curious, which I think sounds awesome, but
I don't know what that means.
In your own words, how would you describe your sound? It doesn't have to have a genre, but just like, I don't know, things that come to mind. Maybe it's a vibe, maybe it's a setting, how would you describe your sound?
How would you guys describe it? Can you guys give me some help?
Do you guys have adjectives?
Really good. Really good. Really good.
Some snaps? All right, we're getting snaps.
Really good. Is what I'd say. No.
Excellent.
No, I don't know. That's hard. I feel like what I've released so far is very much pop. Mm-hmm. Yours, which I released literally like 10 minutes ago or something, is very pop. But a lot of the stuff on the EP is like alternative pop. I don't know. I would say it's like dreamy. I'd say it's dreamy. In the production, it's funny, when I was working on yours, I told the producer, I was like, I want to sound like I'm underwater. And he was like, what does that mean? I'm like, and he was like the vocal? And I'm like, no, I don't want to sound like there's bubbles coming out of my mouth. But like that feeling when you are a child and you like breathe all the air out of your lungs and plug your nose and like lay on the bottom of the pool looking up, and like you see the light like reflecting through, and it like is so quiet and like feels like kind of heavy. I wanted that, and it feels kind of dreamlike. It feels kind of like, it feels like thick, like molasses, That probably makes no sense to anyone but me, but
no.
Okay, you get it? Okay. As long as you guys get it and I don't sound stupid, then I would just say it's like, yeah, it's kind of dreamy, and I don't mean to sound arrogant by saying that, like, oh, I'm so dreamy, but like, I would say it's very like, Does that make sense? Is foosh an adjective? Because
We just made it one.
Absolutely.
In terms of your inspirations musically, I've heard everybody from Fleetwood Mac to Robin to
Love Stevie Nicks, yeah.
to Frank Sinatra. Just out of those three names I just mentioned, what is something you take from each of those artists?
See, it's funny. People are like, your music sounds nothing like Fleetwood Mac. And I'm like, yeah. It
doesn't have to for them to inspire
Exactly.
you.
I grew up on Fleetwood Mac, Billie Holiday, Frank Sinatra, you know, like all the oldies. That's like my mom's cup of tea. And the thing about music from that time period, well, Fleetwood Mac and Frank Sinatra, obviously. There's a generational gap, but how do I say this? There was no Dr. Phil to blow up on and be there overnight. I love Bad Baby.
You're not naming names, are you?
I love Bad Baby, okay? Like, love her. Like Juice off her new mixtape. Woof. But there wasn't that. And, like, that's incredible. I would love to be on Dr. Phil, but, like, there wasn't that back then. So it was like your music had to stand out and stand on its own 2 feet, like, tenfold. And that's the thing with, like, Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. If you listen to that song, no one besides, like, Lord could write a song like that now. Mm-hmm. And that was a big thing for me. I write all my music as poetry without the music prior to going in. Whether that's like me in my notes or me in my journal just scribbling a sentence or scribbling like an entire song. I wrote Yours on a napkin in Starbucks because I literally could not write anything for months. I was like, I feel so blocked. I don't know if we're running low on time, so we'll be quick, but...
Oh, no, I was scratching.
Oh, okay. I was like, hello? But it just, yeah, I wrote it on a napkin. The process is so... To me, I wanted the focus to be on the lyrics, you know, which is what I mean when I say I draw inspiration from them, because that's like Moon River. What is a Moon River? No one knows, you know, like, but it resonates so deeply because it's creative, you know, and that's where I like to draw my inspiration from.
It's like dreamy molasses.
Dreamy molasses foosh is how I would put it. Yeah.
You just dropped yours like hours ago, and I thought it'd be really cool.
On my flight here, yeah.
Yeah, literally, you were in the air.
I was in the air, and I was like, "Is there Wi-Fi?" I just released a song. The flight attendant's like, "Screw you." I'm like, "Okay."
Crazy guy on the plane.
Yeah, I know. I wish I had a censor app and I could like beep myself because "screw you" is really it's really a sentence there. Anyway, keep going.
But it's kind of rare to be hanging out with an artist that just dropped a song with all their fans here so close.
Oh my God, it's so cool. It's so great. It's so like surreal, you know. I was so excited in particular for this song because I really, really like this one. So it's really surreal that I feel like I released it like 15 minutes ago, and here we are talking about it. This is the first time I've really talked about it while it's been out. So
well, I thought let's listen to it. Let's get a little a mini listening party with the fans here.
Oh my God,
play a little bit of that. Yours?
I'm like, hit it. There she is. The lights go up. Yeah. I love that the music volume did not go up one smidge. I was like, let's bring it up. Oh, a spotlight right on me. I'm like, that's not what I meant.
All right, well, hopefully you
that
at
was
home
6
could
seconds
hear that.
of it, but
yeah,
if you want to hear it all of like a loud version, hit up my Spotify or Apple Music or Tidal or whatever you use. It's everywhere.
Now, I got to ask you about the messaging here between the two singles, because the first single, you're telling us that you don't love us, and then this single, you're like, no, I'm yours. What's going on, Aidan?
My mood changes really quickly, is what I'd say. No, the thing about I don't love you is, like, I do love you, but I'm like an Aquarian, so there's that. You know, I, like, detach from everyone and everything. I, like, started sobbing. So I don't love you was more like, I do love you, I just don't love you the way you love me, and I can't help that I'm selfish. You know, that's the line it opens on.
Well, are you selfish? Because I've listened to the song, I've dove into the lyrics. Is it that you're truly selfish, or is that just escapism?
Absolutely, it's a total defense. Yeah,
right.
Because you're never selfish for being honest about how you feel. You know, it can be hard, and if you do it wrong, you can be a jerk.
Right.
I keep trying not to say asshole so bad. It's my favorite word. But you can do it in a bad way, but it's not, and it's inherently not selfish to me, you know, to be honest about how you feel. especially with somebody else who likes you. Like, what? You can't be like, yeah, I guess, sure. Then in 6 months, you're like, by the way, I was totally kidding. So that to me is very much, I do love you, but there's things about myself that make it harder for me to love you the way you want me to love you. With yours, they're about different people, so it seems like a mixed signal, but really it's just how I felt about two different people.
Right.
And yours was very much, I remember I wrote yours, I was shooting a show in Iowa, and Des Moines is so boring. It is so boring there. And so I was like, great, I'm on set for what, like 10 hours a day, and then I have a few hours at night. I should be writing, you know, I have an album to work on. And I would like get demos of songs people had written. I'm like, I hate this. I didn't say any of it. You know, I don't want people to be like, oh, I love these lyrics. And then I'm like, great, the guy who wrote them says thanks, you know? Like, I very much wanted it to be my own thing. So in Iowa, I'm like trying so hard to write all these things. I'm like looking at the like corn, you know, praying for some inspiration. None of it comes. And then I'm in Starbucks and I wrote it all down just because I was like, silence has a way of really leaving you alone with yourself. And in Idaho, I had a lot of that because I didn't hang out with anyone, you know, because they played lacrosse. And so I had a lot of time to be with myself. I had a lot of time to like use my mom's old record player and listen to music because I was like so different. And I was in Iowa writing this, and it was spilling out of me, and I was like, it's that feeling when it's like you've been dealing with these feelings of like being completely enamored for so long, and like being on guard and making sure that you look cute in your Instagram stories, like little, like it's things that are like so like stupid, you know, but like they're like so young. Like I am in my Instagram story, like, oh, if they see it, like I hope that they think I look good. I hope they respond to my story, you know? And like that is so exhausting in itself, you know, like always like, oh, do I look good in this? Or, oh, why aren't they texting me back? Oh, it's been 15 minutes. Oh, I don't want to come off weird. That's a big thing to me is, oh, like, I hope they don't think that I'm, like, annoying and clingy and weird and I hate being vulnerable. So I don't know why I'm doing this, you know? But yours, I was like, I have to say screw it again. Screw it. Like, I don't care really anymore. Like, I don't care how it makes me sound. I don't care if you think I'm stupid, if you think I'm lame, if you think I'm a little kid who's pining after you. Like, this is how I feel. So yours was a big, like, it was almost just a battle cry of, like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Yeah, I just don't care. Yeah. So, yeah, that was a big thing for me. I forgot the question you asked. I just love talking, apparently.
The answer was better than the question, I'll tell you that.
Great.
What I like, I'll end on this before we turn it over to the fans. What I like about yours is that it starts off, and it sounds almost like a 50s or 60s like heartthrob ballad.
That piano.
Yeah, and then like the beat picks up, and it's this modern kind
Thanks.
of like
I wanted
vibe.
to keep it. I wanted to mix the elements, like an old broken Billie Holiday, like Good Morning Heartache-esque piano, but then, you know, bring the defibrillator to it and spice it up, you know? Put my shirt on it and get it glittery, you know?
Let's get to these fan questions. First one's going to come from Mr. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, yeah.
Hi, my name's Hamza, by the way.
What is it?
Hamza.
Hamza.
Yeah.
Okay, love that.
Thank you. We're all big fans of you.
Thanks so much.
We really
Thanks,
like
guys.
your song, I Don't Love You, and it
Thank you.
intrigued me because I listen to like dream pop music. But anyways,
Cool.
can we expect like an album or what?
Absolutely. Before the end of the year, it will be out.
The EP, right?
It's an EP, yeah.
Do we have a title for it?
It's I Don't Love You. It's titled I Don't
that's
Love
the
You.
name of the EP.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Self-titled. Well, not self-titled because that's not my name, but you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
November, December?
we don't have the exact release date yet, but it should be around there.
Cool.
I'm so excited about it. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff on it, a lot of new music. I can't wait for you to hear it.
Just in time for the holidays. It's very
Yeah.
nice of you.
I'm trying to steal all the attention from Christmas.
Let's get to our second studio audience question from right over here.
Oh, hello again.
Hi, how are you?
It's so good to see
My
you.
name's Taha. My question is, what was the lyrical inspiration behind writing I Don't Love You?
I think I have this really weird thing with like words, you know, like certain words. For example, I don't know if I'm even allowed to say this yet. My next single is called Melancholia, and I love I really might be in a lot of trouble when I get off the stage. I just realized, but I just love how the word looks, and that's like just physically how it looks on the page. I think it's a pretty word. Same with French. That's why I learned French, because I just think it was so pretty. And so I have a big thing with that, and I thought that I Don't Love You just it looked really cool. I loved the messaging behind it. I heard all these like super lame love songs on the radio that I was like, this sounds like every other love song I've ever heard. So I was like, I want to do the complete opposite of it, which is where I got I Don't Love You, and then I built around it, and I tried to think, what about me makes it hard for me to love other people? I feel like I'm in therapy again. And it was really just whether it was like me singing about my dad or whether it was singing about just my perception of love and attachment and relationships and like being an adult, you know, like I turned 18 this year, and I'm an adult now. So all of this stuff I really had to dive in deeper than I had before, because I was like, okay, no more child's play, you know, like I have to get to it if I want to do this. So I had to really dive deep. So I guess that's kind of where it came from. I loved I Don't Love You. I felt that way towards someone, and then I kind of built around that.
You theorize that it might be tied to your dad on the song. Lyrically, you say, maybe I'm my father's son. Why put that lyric in the song?
My parents aren't together. They split like when I was born. Who knows? And it never was really hard for me, because it wasn't like I was like 13 and then he like grabbed a suitcase and walked out and I was like, oh my God, you know? I grew up without that. And so I thought it was poetic, like, I'm not my father's son because he wasn't my father. But maybe I am, in sense of maybe these things. And obviously, he's not some monster or anything. It's not like he's incapable of love. But I was like, maybe it's genetic. Maybe in my genetic coding, I was built. I was built to not connect with people in that way, or it was too hard for me. I always pulled out. I always was not attached. I always scared myself out of it. Since then, I've gotten over it, but it was very important to me to be like, this is why, or at least this is what I am blaming it on. Yeah.
Do you ever listen to the John Mayer song "In the Blood"?
I've heard it, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Pretty good.
That's kind of
yeah. It kind of has stuff like that. Yeah. No, I loved how it rolled off the tongue. It just felt very personal to me. I remember I was in the studio and the producer was like, "Oof," and I was like, "Oof, oof is right," you know.
You're getting some sounds today.
Oh, oof, like foosh. Well, oof. I don't know why I say it. All my friends make fun of me. If I bang my knee, I'm like, oof. If I almost hit my head, oof. I got out of the plane, tripped, I said, oof. The flight attendant's like, are you okay? I was like, oof. I cracked my phone screen, oof. Like, sometimes you just gotta oof.
How did you not name the EP Oof?
Don't tempt me. I will go backstage and talk to my manager.
Maybe that's the LP.
Yeah. The LP, yeah.
That's what we're building towards.
I'm like,
Oof.
can't wait for oof coming next year. Thanks, guys.
We have time before we go for one final question. It'll come from right over here.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
I like your pants. Those are cool.
Thank you. So I know like you grew up in Idaho and you've been living in LA for a few years, but would you ever like decide to move to New York City for like a few years or something?
Absolutely. My mom lived here for like 12, 15 years in between 2nd and 3rd on 62nd or something. So up by the park, I think. Is that right? 62nd? That's by I'm looking at you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't know where I am right now. So,
You look behind you. It's a dead giveaway.
Oh, good. Okay, if I could read
Part of the stage.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I would absolutely love it. I want to go. Well, I would love to go to school, but as of now, that's something different. But I would love it. I love the energy here. I got off the plane last night, and my taxi driver dropped me off like super far away from my hotel. And so I had my big duffel bag and my suitcase, and I'm like rolling it through the streets, and I smell like curry, and then I smell like Vietnamese food like within seconds, and I love that. You know, I love the culture. I love the mix of people. My dad's side of the family is all from Europe, so I love melting pots. I love there being a wide mix of people that I can like observe and learn from. I think culture is so it's such a gift to us. I'm not gonna even get political because I will be in more trouble. But like, I think that culture is something that we need to be like holding on to, you know, because it teaches us so much about each other. And I love that New York has so much of that. So I would love to live here at some point. Yeah.
Fingers crossed, right? That he moves over here.
I would love to. So if somebody wants to pay $5,000 a month for 200 square feet, that'd be really hot. If anyone's watching this.
Well said. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I Don't Love You is out. Yours dropped today. Check both those records out. And the EP, you heard it here first, will be out by the end of the year. Again, fingers crossed on that too. One more time, Aidan Alexander, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
We love you.